Hello and welcome. I'm Bill Wake. We are working on a program to compare tunes for similarity, and we're going to work today on kind of an old issue in the user interface. Let's go see the IDE. All right, and we've run tests, so those are good. All right, so what we want to observe, the use, let's see, the way it used to be, if it was selected, it had the border, and it was not selected, it was kind of grayed out a bit. We made it different. We made it so that selected or not, the colors and all that are the same. It's just a question of the border or not. And then we added the little checkbox. I don't know, the size of those. Oh, it's bigger when it's selected. Okay. But the checkbox, it says which one is active. And these two are mutually exclusive. So one of the things I'd like to do is make the mutually exclusive ones use a circle with a dot in it or not. And then the other thing is, well, there's two. One is we don't want the checkbox or circle here. The other is I'd kind of like these two to be spaced similarly, kind of, maybe I have to explicitly give it a space width or something to make that work. But that's kind of my third concern. Let's see. So tool icons should be the same size, or at least width. Okay, so I think the first thing we want to do is get rid of these little checkboxes on this view. I could almost live with them not being true radio buttons over here. And in a way, like, I don't know, there's nothing that tells you they are. But as soon as you can't deselect it, and as soon as you select another, it switches. So it's a radio button. This one does deselect, so it's more of a checkbox, true checkbox. Okay, so let's address this button. And I don't know, I don't remember if it's top line. I think it is, right? Top line has it's the hamburger menu thing. Okay, so it has the icon and it has the space for something in the center. And I think we used to have something over here, but I don't know if any of the current views do. So in any case, let's look at top line. So it does vertical icon is active. I think what I want to do is say, I guess it's a question of how much you want your icon to know. Like, it's got to know 5 cases. Well, 3 minimum. Right now it knows 2. It knows you're active or you're not, and you get a checkbox or you don't. We want to add a different case that says, I am always active in this case, but I don't want to show my checkbox. And maybe we could say none if we're talking about what the display is on that. Okay, and then the final case is I'm a radio button and I should be a circle or a circle with a dot in the middle. How we're going to do that, I don't know. Let's add show selector Boolean, and it defaults to true. Okay, so I'm saying we're going to have to modify this call to say false. And is active is kind of irrelevant. Okay, but we want to say show selector is false, is active is whatever. I don't think we really need it. We know it's active. Okay, so let's see if that's doing the job. Everybody else hopefully defaults to true. And okay, so we compile. Notice we got to get rid of this is active. Now, icon or vertical icon. Well, this is if show selector. Do that. Okay, so if we're showing the selector, we'll make a decision about which one to show. And if we're not, I think that'll do it. I don't know. It is a UI consideration, I guess. This is, I don't know. I'm trying to separate out the model from the view, as it were. Okay. Oh, interesting. This one lost it. This one didn't. Okay, so let's find the colors of top line. Okay. So quantizer setting view uses it. So if we put that in, it's fine. There's source view is not. I don't know if there's a. Okay, sync view uses top line. Why does not? What's the other view? Is it source view? Source. File input stage. Well, that stage, where's the view? Pipeline packet. Transform sync statistics. Well, I guess it's on user interface. Input view. Show selector false is active. Okay, and is there manual input? Oh, uses input view. Okay. Sync view. Okay, I think that should cover the cases now. We can run through all those. Okay, good. File input, manual input, quantize, parsons, statistics, and that. Okay, good. I know it's a little awkward. Don't show selection on pipeline view. Okay, use radio button for mutually exclusive views. Okay, so sources, inputs, and analysis syncs, they are mutually exclusive. I don't know if it's worth all this fuss. It's a lot of stuff to tell an icon. He's probably, or icon's probably not the right name for it. I could probably leave off this type and not be any worse off. Okay, is active. Oh, this is really awkward. Fits radio button. Let's go find circle. Maybe this is the better way to start. Dotted. Oh no, I know there's a circle with a dot. That doesn't quite do it. Maybe we can find, well, there's a filled in circle somewhere. Really? Combining and closing circle. I just want a little circle. Well, that one's not so bad. Radio button, but then, let's see, do those look like they cover the same territory? Let's see if Unicode has. Oh, fisheye. And I guess if I can find a plain circle. Black circle, no. And this is kind of unbelievable. 25EF. Let's hope that's the right one. Okay, is active. Well, maybe this has under fisheye. Yep. No, different size circles. Technical symbols. With the white circle, too big. This circle, way too big. It would seem like so little to ask. Oh, that one looks better. At least closer. Oops. It's still a little big. Okay. You'd think two texts would be compatible, but okay. Oh, this is more work than I want. Let's make a helper. I don't know if we can put that text in there or not. Okay, select our character. Okay, so if it's active, it's radio button. Requires that string conform to view. Oh. Okay, now we need to make the input views reflect radio button true. Input view. That should be okay. It's a subset or a subclass. Sub something. Do we call them subclasses? I don't know. Sync view. Top line. Well, let's go to the other quantizer view. He can default to that, that's fine. Top line. I guess top line's gonna have to know his radio button. We'll default it false. Oh, I guess we don't need a default if we're gonna. These don't care. Sorry, I'm being stupid. See if I left any fragments there so far. I'm looking at the wrong thing completely, so that's why it's all messed up. Let's go to vertical icon. Colors of that are the ones we care about. Icon, input view, top line, vertical. What? Input view, top line. Vertical icon. I'm gonna have to go back to content view and trace my way down. It may be icon view, I don't know. Somebody sets these constraints though. File input view. Well, that's the pipeline body. We don't care about that. The whole body. Whole body. Pipeline selectors. I really hate this. Icon. Transformations. Okay. This code knows it's got a constraint. Oh, why is this still there? Source constraint, sync constraint. Wait a minute. Analysis quantizer has no constraint. Okay, let's go to icon. Okay, constraint is nil. Okay, so now is radio button goes to constraint not equal nil. Oh. Constraint. What? Oh, you got to spell it right. Okay. Picky, picky. This radio button must proceed as active. Well, I don't think that sounds right. Show selector. Okay, I guess most variable to least variable. Yeah, that's probably reasonable. Sorry, least variable to most variable. Okay, even though we can't do currying in Swift, where like Elm, you could create something that had this always set, and then the next varying thing is active. Of course, by that theory, these two both ought to come after all the other stuff. Name is stage name. Okay. And let's go to vertical icon. All right, now people are going to complain because there's probably another place or two that calls it. Have name, icon, all right. I wonder if I may be spending too much time. I was wondering, what if I made these ovals? Would that suggest that they're only one? I don't know. I like that fade in. That's nice. Thank you, Swift UI. Okay. We've done the job. It's a little ugly passing around flags. They're slightly mitigated by having the labels. I don't really want to repeat vertical icon. I don't know why it's vertical, but okay. Let's claim what we got. Use radio button. I mean, even with being squared off rectangular things, they still look like they've got radio buttons. They're in a section delimited by a borderline, even if it is faint. There's no mix and match. You know, they're either all in one section, they're all selectable or not selectable, or they're all radio buttons. I can live with it. Tool icons should be the same width. Well, let's see if that's easy. Again, let's go to top line, vertical icon, dot padding, dot frame width is 50. I don't think this has a preview. 50 is a little small. That may be a little much. Nah, that's all right. Okay. And then let's see, why does input view not use top line? Input view. Well, in any case, see if that messes anything up. They look good. I mean, that little bit of stuff was bugging me, but they line up nicely now. Okay. I'm going to live with it. Now, okay, let's make sure this is good. Okay, so we made hamburger view not show selector. Tools on left show radio button or checkbox appropriately. And icons in hamburger view have consistent width. Okay, make sure this was broadcasting. Good. And that finally got. All right. That's fine. Okay. Back to the melody average. Choose whether to make cells, fix cell, set color, etc. Investigate pinned headers. Compute the mode. Draw the tune. Okay, now only show the first row with entries to the last row with entries. That'd be interesting. We'd have to find that out first. Okay, I don't think it's so hard, but we can do it. Okay, fix cells, set color. So this is all just kind of the view of things. Let's close all these. Go back to our melody average. Average tune view. Hey, welcome. We're doing a music analysis app, so let me kick it off running. I'm working with somebody who studies musical tunes and is trying to decide how similar are they, and can I trace like which one's first and which one influenced the next, and so on. And so it's got this input format that I don't know if you're a musician at all, but the main body of it down here is giving the notes G, D, C, B, A, G, and so on. And then the rest of these are more like metadata, the name of the song, the time signature, the key, source, and miscellaneous other stuff. Okay, so what we're doing is we're building up an analysis pipeline. You can open the file, and I'll take that same one. This is 39 versions of Deck the Halls. No, Noskalan, I guess it's pronounced. And I talked to the person I'm working with yesterday, and she said, "Oh no, that's not all the versions I have. I have a bunch of others I haven't gotten transcribed yet." Like, oh my gosh. Okay, so she will probably have 80 versions when she's done. I've got other songs, 150 versions of Barbara Allen and things like that. So anyway, we've selected a file. One of the analyses we can do is called the Parsons code, and that basically gives you the shape of the melody. The code itself is this DRU, down, 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 repeat, up, down, up. It's just telling us sort of the shape of the melody. And you can see these first two look very similar, maybe even identical. Oh no, this one goes down twice here and this one goes down 3 times, but they're very clearly similar songs. This, maybe not so much. All kinds of variations. Do the musicians transcribe manually? Yeah, I mean, somebody has to convert it. They've got it, many tools that work with sheet music editing. This ABC format is a common one that they will produce. So one way or the other, they transcribe it. They can sit down and just start typing these notes, or they can use a tool where they put in sheet music and tell it to export as ABC. I have one somewhere. There it is. Tab will edit. So I play Mountain Dulcimer. You can see it hanging on the wall back there. And they have a little editor like this. A Mountain Dulcimer has 3 strings. So this version is sort of standard music notation. And this version is what they call tab or tablature. It tells you that the melody string you play 7, 7, 8, 9, which is the fret number, position on there. And in here, I think export ABC. So I could do MIDI, ASCII, ABC, LilyPond, and audio. LilyPond, I think, is another editing tool, maybe a more common one. But a lot of people doing dulcimer or guitar use this one. It's a nice tool for that. Okay. And then the other, I have a statistics report that doesn't have a whole lot of stuff in it. How many tunes, how many measures, how many notes. Okay. And then a melody average, that's the one we're working on. And that one is, it tells us this is the measure, measure 1, note 1, measure 1, note 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is the note in the scale. So the first note in like a middle C on a piano would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can tell that the most common number, the largest number in this column is 12, says most people who sing Nosgalon, however she says it, they start on the 5th note of the scale. Okay, like here comes, Twinkle Twinkle does. And then the second note is almost always the 4th note, and this is almost always the 3rd, and this is that one. And if you think about Decthal's dun 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 dun, it's going down at first. Okay. Then there's one other thing we can add in here is quantizing. Quantizing says, I don't want every little 8th note and 16th note and little tiny note. I want to know just on the steady beats, what are the notes? Okay. And if you notice before, this numbering went up to 11, I think, or 12. Now it goes up to 6, and most of the ones in 5 and 6 are 0. So it's probably an error somewhere in transcription. But anyway, at the quarter note level, we still say the 5th note's the most common. Then it looks like repeating it is the next most common thing, and then down and down and then down. Okay, so it's still the same general shape going down at first. But the one source I have for doing this report, they call it a conspectus, which is not a name I know very much. Yeah, so I mean, if you go through these old tunes, let's see. Can I find her site? Let's see. Yeah, Handy Finch site. Handy Finch. Deck the Halls. Okay, so she's providing all the versions of this thing that she has, and whatever notes. She's got the Parsons contour, but she's also got the sound of it. So So that's an old version. And then another variant, a little more rhythmic. So, yeah, you can listen to these things and you'll say, gosh, that sounds familiar. And you find out like, oh, it's a common old tune. Before it was Deck the Halls, it was a New Year's song in Welsh. And, the tune's been around at least, well, I think she said 1742 back there was the oldest, maybe. 1752 she has. So she's got, almost 300-year-old music and all these people that made variations of it. And, that's kind of cool. Yeah, there's something about analyzing that's kind of fun. So, yeah. All right. So the task we're on now is, if we look at this melody average, it's like it's a wall of numbers. Okay. I'm thinking we can do things to help make this a little better. One is some of these are wide and some of these are narrow. So it's a little bit gap toothed, I guess you'd say, like the columns aren't consistent and all that stuff. And later we want to draw a line that says this is the most common melody. It's going to be a lot easier if things are the same size. So I would like to set the width on these things. And then I think the zeros are really boggling. There's a lot of them. Even, yeah, just kind of all over the place. A few, you don't have every possible note in the scale used, but the ones on the top and the bottom especially. Now this last row is special. It's when you have a rest rather than a note. But I think if these cells that had 0, I don't know, maybe they could be blank with a little black dot in the middle or something. I still want to let your eye see them and you want to know they're there, but I want to make it more transparent, more obvious. The other thing we're going to do later is we're going to mark the cell that has the biggest number in it. And notice it's statistically it's a mode, the most common value. And the other constraint is you could have 2 with the same number, well, you could have any number with the same number. So that's going to be a challenge. All right. So let's first get these things the same size. I think that will help. All right. So let's get our to-do back. So, okay. So what are we deciding? I think same sized cells, 0 cells, background only with a small dot. Okay. And I think the dot will help your eye go across the page and keep things on the same line. Yeah, imagine here, like if this were blanks, the whole section would be blank. And if it's dot, 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 you could get to the 1, I think, pretty nicely. Okay, what else would help? Well, we might want to set the spacing between them. I think we can do that with the grid. The nice thing is if I can get the grid mathematically square and regular, then I've got a chance of doing my drawing stuff. Okay. But I think that'll start us out. Okay. Yeah, that might help too. Yeah, maybe we'll explore. I think there definitely has to be something in that position, but blindingly obvious when it's so empty is really not good. The other thing that's going to happen, and hasn't yet, but if you trace through down here, the last 3 or 4 rows, they're they're all zeros. Okay. All the way across. Okay. I guess the last three, I saw one in there. There's no reason to show those lines. And same thing for the leading lines. Those actually do have some ones up in the first row. But if, let's say, the highest note got to be 5 plus or 3 plus, I would like to not show those at all. No reason to. Okay. Lighter color. Yeah, that might be an idea. Okay. Yeah. Well, or possibly with a lighter color. Okay. Well, same cells, same sized cells ought to be easy. This is average tune view, sync view. Okay. All right. And here's the grid. It's in scrolls. Oh, we do have spacing set already. Good. Grid row text, verbatim, the count position names. All right. Well, let's I'm kind of estimating here. Background color like gray. I guess I want to make that before I put the background in. Okay. And that's pretty much all of them. All right. Well, clearly 50 is a little large. Okay, I would say half that would be. It looks like it's taking about a third. So if I took half, maybe 24 is nice. Nice even number. And we can pull this into a constant later. Okay. And unfortunately, you can't really see it on small examples. So bitter experience tells me that. Well, that's still, it's very regular. So I like that. I could probably go a hair smaller. There's 12. And you got to imagine it bolded or something because we're going to have to show the mode ones differently. Okay. Well, that's reasonable-ish. Let's squeak it down a touch. Maybe 20. Okay, I'm doing this often enough. Is it size or float? Oh, that's okay. Okay, that's a little too small. We've got some dots already. Okay. So maybe 24 is the right size. I've got padding of 4 on it as well, so it's... Let's take the padding off. Um, 24. Okay, one last look. Okay, we may decide that's going to be a little bigger. I don't think you'll ever break 100. I think we're okay. That strikes me as all right. Okay. Okay, so let's check that in. And we'll try 2 ways. Okay, so let's say if count is 0, we're going to do one thing. Else, we're going to do something else. And our starting point is both the same. Make sure that builds. When binary integer, going to binary integer. Oh, count is not really a pure count. There we go. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, so make the zeros a lighter color. Frame. Foreground. Let's see if we have an asset that is that color. I'm trying to be better about using assets. You can tell I didn't here. Well, I did sort of. Predefining the colors I'm using. Light gray comes from the palette, and that's really the lightest I have. That's our background. And light 1. Let's try light 1. And that certainly gets rid of them. Onigumo, welcome back. Okay, let's see. So, nah, that's pretty nice. The zeros are still there. They almost look like they're punched through. And mostly, I don't think a 0 is ever interesting per se. Right? I mean, really, we're trying to see the variety of these things. We can see these two are very common. One outlier out here and another one out here. Several steps away from the nearest, and a few people resting at that first node. Yeah, I like that. This is nice. And then we can see, oh, we don't really have very many tunes wide enough. And we can see our numbers are going a little too skinny. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So let's lock in the color one. Both are using a background of light gray. I don't know if I can refactor this out or not. When would you want to pass things as copy? I'm not quite sure I'm following the question. The things we're doing here, they're struct, so they generally pass as copies. And in general, that's kind of what Swift UI seems to prefer is immutable stuff, so it can copy it when it wants to. This thing is small. It's an ID and a count is the two things in there because, again, Swift UI wants identifiable things when it's showing them. And I think that's part of what we're seeing. If you're talking, I don't know if you're talking more in general or in specific here. Okay. Well, unfortunately, let's see. Oh, that's definitely not true. I mean, it depends which languages you're talking about. If you're talking about, are you talking managed languages like C, in the sense C# is a managed language, or some other ones? I mean, many languages define many of the OO languages, like, I don't know, like you have a choice, right? Java said int and float, and these things are going to be kind of bare types, always passed by value. And then classes are passed by reference. I know Java added record to be more like Swift struct, and Swift struct are definitely passed by copy. But what's weird is, I don't know. So if the functional languages have really explored data structures for immutable objects. So if you want a hash table, say, in a functional language, and like you add to it, well, you have to create a whole brand new hash table theoretically or in principle. And so they've worked out techniques that let you extend structures without having to touch the existing structure. And Swift does that. So its arrays are passed as copies in terms of the semantics of the language. If you pass an array to another function, in principle, it will copy every element of that array. But in practice, what they've done is they optimize that and they say, oh, if you're not changing the array, then I can just pass the pointer to it. And that's all underneath the hood. Semantically, it pretends it's copied. In compiler terms, it says, no, you don't need to copy it in this situation. I'm just going to pass a reference and we'll be done. So the line's a little shady depending where you're looking at. But if you're talking about like Java or C Sharp, their classes, yeah, they pass those by reference. In principle, the class allocates some chunk of stuff, and then you're passing around the pointer to that chunk of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Is that making sense, or keep asking if I'm not making sense? All right. But in any case, I like what we have here. Thank you, Chilled Pepper. The look of that is good. The fact that I have to do this stuff repeatedly is annoying. I can't attach it outside the if because it doesn't, for whatever reason, which it's probably wrong to think this. It says I can't tell what the type is. Like, what are you putting the background on? I can't tell. But in reality, they're both text coming back. So it should be generically okay. I don't know if I might be able to group it. Okay, maybe that will let me do it. Is that going to work? Okay, if I can do that, then the background color goes away. Here and here. The frame can come out. And foreground color is there. Well, okay, that tells me what I should do here is, well, I won't need the group in the end, I think. Verbatim count dot foreground color. If count is 0, go to color light 1. And C# Java, yeah, well, the part of it is like objects could be potentially big, and passing them around copies of them is kind of annoying from that sense. Yeah, I mean, the real reasons to copy them, well, I don't know, I'm kind of going back down to the pointer level in my mind, but they're saying like making an arbitrary blob pass by value means I have to copy potentially hundreds of bytes every time I pass an argument, which is way, way out of the cost range of, passing it int or a float or something like that, right? So it's like way more costly to pass hundreds of bytes that an object might contain. And so they just kind of defaulted it to say you can pass the reference. That's always a little small. It's a pointer basically. And whether it's visible or not, Java doesn't really expose it directly usually. But the reference is a pointer in effect and is that size, and so if you never have to worry about that, you always just know you're going by reference. There are scenarios where you do need to make copies. Like if I've got some sort of structure and I want to modify it, but I want some people want the modified and some people want the original. Okay, maybe it's a tree of some sort. I might need to make a copy of the tree before I change something in it, so that the people who aren't sharing, if they're sharing it, they don't want you changing it behind their back. So there might be reasons you do need to copy things manually, and the compiler provides defaults and stuff like that. Now, I think I'd have to check. I know Java has this record structure now, and it's designed for kind of immutable values and little objects where you just create some fields and set them once and never change them. And there, if it's immutable, especially, you can pass the pointer around to an immutable object, and it doesn't matter that it's a pass by value or not pass by value. It's not going to change anyway. So I don't know. I think that's it's a trade-off for them, and I think it was probably a reasonable trade-off. I think the version Swift does, where they do stuff under the covers to make it look like a copy. That's definitely requires more sophisticated optimizations and stuff like that. Otherwise, passing every array by copy would be ridiculous. You'd be, implementing, taking, lots and lots of space all the time. The work to copy, it's probably the bad part. The space is probably not a big deal anymore, maybe, but yeah. So I think it's a trade-off. Yeah, like all these things, I guess. Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah. So you definitely have to. You definitely have to copy. Yeah, that's a perfect example. You're passing a hash map to somebody, and you don't want them to change it on you after you gave it out. Like you'd copy it. Yeah. So are you in Java? What language are you working in? All right. Here's our foreground color. Okay. Have I got too many? Yep. Okay, so I'm doing that instead of this. Okay, yeah, C#, C++. Yeah, it's different. I mean, C++, the old style of it used a lot of pointers. They got kind of away from it, and now you can kind of not know that you're using pointers. They use references enough that you aren't so aware of it. But yeah, C++ and C# have somewhat different models, and yeah, you just kind of have to take the model. I mean, what happened was, I mean, C#. The nice thing was they basically grew out of Java, and Java took the same approach that says, like, let's just make classes be little pointed to objects, since that's the 99% case. Once in a while, you don't have to, it's. Okay, let's make sure I haven't messed things up here. Nope, looking good still. Okay. However, those big numbers probably are squished. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's take what we have. I think this is a win for now. Okay. I don't need the group anymore. And let's fix the formatting on there. I don't know. I got to doing this kind of formatting, and I kind of like it. I don't know. It'd be better if I could fit it on the same line. All right, but background color light gray. Okay. Yeah. So we make well, this is average melody report. Make the zeros a light color so they fade away, but we can still easily read across lines. Oh, nice. Let me run tests like I should have done before I checked in, and then we'll just run that thing one more time. Make sure I didn't mess things up by removing that group. It shouldn't matter, but just being careful. Alrighty. Now this, I can easily imagine tunes with 100 measures, but I don't think you're going to analyze that big. So maybe 99 diet. 12 beats, 12/8 of moderately, 12/8 occurs in like Irish music often enough. Not super common, but I don't think it's going to be normal to have more than 12 beats. Huh. All right, so I guess I need enough room for 5 nines. 99.99 is now. Could I? Let's see if we can. The scale degrees. Oh, the headers, position names, header name. What if I made the height twice as big? And I bet there's a way to split the text. Allows tightening. That would be interesting. Oh. Oh, the first is allow text tightening. Okay, I guess it's just if you missed it by a couple characters. Controlling hit testing. No, I don't care about that. Font styling. Okay. Fitting text. Okay, here we go. Truncation mode. Maybe that's what we want. And these. Head, middle, tail. Well, I don't want to truncate at all. Allows tightening. The minimum amount this text scales down. Yeah, I really want it to fit in there. Well, let's do allows tightening true. Well, I feel so much better about this view. I want to get Brian Beecham, my friend that told me like, hey, fix that. Okay, so well, I've made a more, and that's a little awkward. That's the double spaced. Now, admittedly, it's fitting in the it's fitting. I'd like it to split on the dot if it could. then I would say 1.1, 2.1. That would be nice. Okay, well, allows tightening definitely fixed that. This is a tricky one. Swift UI split text line at another character. Yeah, you can say line limit. I mean, line limit would be good to say too. How to split a string. Yeah, I mean, I can transform the string. That's too long. How to force 2 lines of text. Yeah. Right. I can append my own new line in the middle. Right. Line limit reserve space. Line limit 2. Well, line limit reserve space is good. But I would really rather split on that dot because I know that the most you'll have is 2 digits and a dot. And most of the time it's not even that. So header name dot replacing characters in with replacing occurrences of dot with slash and dot. I hope that's allowed. Dot line limit 2. I don't think I need this one now. Hopefully it does a 1-pass scan on this. Okay. Now I'd like them centered. Not. Yeah, I think that looks all right. I mean, if they were centered, it would be better, but it's close to it. How awkward is it here? Yeah. Maybe I can justify it. I don't know if I can justify these things easily. Okay, let's see text again. There it is. I never can remember that name. Multi-line text alignment center. This would be most likely on a Mac. It would work on a pad, but I can't see anybody really doing serious analysis sitting there on their little iPhone judging, the average melody of a 40 note song or anything like 40 measures of a song. Yeah, so I'm gonna just assume I've got this large mode that I have on a Mac, and I'm running Mac native on this one, as it is now. Yeah, that's a touch better. I think I'm happy with it with the two lines that actually is better in a way because you're seeing the same measure number. Yeah, the measure numbers on the first line and the beat is on the second line. I'm good with that. Okay, now what I'm puzzled by, and this is more data. Here's measure 4, beat 5 and 6. That may be the only ones that have non-zero in those two columns. Okay, so what that tells me, and it tells me that somebody's got too many beats in there at measure 4, and measure 4 is the only one that's too long. So I suspect it's a transcription error. Now, finding it, unfortunately, would be hard because I don't have anything that like automatically looks at it. But I know it's in measure 4. Okay, this is 1/8, and this is 2/4/8. So that measure 4 is okay. All right, but so I'm looking at the first line of these things for anything that adds up to something other than 8. If they're 1/8. Oh, look at that! It's in 6/8. I bet that's the one too. 2, 3, 4. Default 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm not sure what the default is. It may. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's very suspicious. All right, but I can tell you, like looking at this, I see 7 beats in what's supposedly a 6/8 time. Maybe there's, well, the thing is, ABC's like a very loose format, or they want you to accept anything. And in this case, I'm accepting that time signature says 6/8, but I've actually got 7 beats there. The other lesson out of that is most of these versions are 4/4. Okay, that one's 6/8. That one's 6/8. I shouldn't say most without looking at it. A number of them are 4/4, but there's a 3/4. Okay, there's a lot of variation there. And what that's suggesting to me is there may be need for a tool that filters by the time signature or something like that. I'm not sure the right solution. It could either be filtering by it. It could be saying, I'm going to convert 6/8 to 4/4 somehow. I'm going to scale it in to fit the measures. But actually, I'm seeing a bunch of 2/4s as well. I mean, 4/4 to 2/4 is very doable. 6/8 to 4/4 is less likely. 3/4. It could be. I don't know. I'm gonna have to consult my my customer on that one. Yeah, but thanks. I think I'm happy with the look so far too. I'm not. One thing that I'm not so sure of, like almost always, you want to quantize with this melody average. because otherwise you're comparing eighth note beats. I don't know. It's just very awkward. Yeah, I'm not sure the way around this. But if you don't quantize, you end up comparing a melody that's got lots of little twiddly notes that are just echoing around the shape of the melody, and they make it look different when it's not. So it is reasonable. But what we do about these varying time signatures, I think maybe one thing would be filter. Like if it's based on 3 versus based on 4, I think you probably should filter it. And if it's based on 4, you might want to transform 2/4 to 4/4 or something like that. And you have 2 choices how to do it. Okay. Yeah, I think this stage is done. I'm happy enough with the header working. I think we've got the standard sizes. Make sure tests are doing this. Make sure I deleted that line, which I didn't. I'll still trust myself. Commit this. Split header line just before the dot. Give it a cell size that allows 2 lines. Okay. Oh, I'm not keeping up here. All right. Same size cells. This is the melody average report. We did same size cells. 0 cells. With a lighter color. With lighter text color. And we didn't do pinned headers. Okay, let's take that one. We did do put column headers, or maybe split column headers into 2 lines. Pinned headers, gosh, I don't know. We did something on this before. So Swift UI pinned headers. And I tried an experiment and it didn't work. Pinned scrollable views. Added in 2020. All right. Yeah, that's those. They're nice, aren't they? I mean, they hang out as long as you need to. Now, in our case, it's the row headers that we want to pin. But oh, there it is, pinned views. Scroll view. It's on Lazy VStack. In a scroll view. Let's make sure we're in a scroll view. I think we must be, right? Horizontal and vertical? Right. We are in a scroll view. Okay, so the question is, well, one question is, why is my formatting so off? Oh, they are in the grid. Okay, never mind. Does grid or grid row have pinned views? One match over here. Scroll view. Yeah, we know LazyHGrid does it. and lazy VStack. Alignment center. Can I switch to a lazy VStack? I'm not quite sure about lazy stacks versus grids. Lazy grids. Okay. Pin doesn't seem to... I'm not sure where this fits. View types. And this seems to come only... Okay. I don't know. Is there a lazy grid? I can wish he had put the pictures of the result here. Okay. First, you provide the grid's content. The first view is the content. Okay, that's the header, row headers. Well, right now it's a fixed size, so that's okay. LazyHGrid. Now, they just did what they said. Rows? First view, you provided the grid's content closure appears in the top row of the column that's on the grid's leading edge. Top row of the column. Fill the first column from top to bottom, then the second, and so on. That's good. Bounded, but specify the number of rows. Rows. I guess that's specifying the number of rows. But that's not a view there. First view that you provide to the grid's content closure appears in the top row. I guess I don't get it. Successive cells filling the column. Top row of the column that's on the grid's leading edge. So I'm providing a column, I guess. Okay, yeah, so these are the values for that column. But I don't see anything about pinning. Oh, there's pinned views. Okay, pinned views. And they're saying section header. That's the vertical. Okay, so I guess I want to look at grid. I don't see anything about pinned there. Okay, alignment, center, vertical, horizontal spacing. Okay, yeah, this is going to be troublesome. Right, so because this is focused on giving the contents of one row, and I think it wants things in the other order. It wants the column. And this is kind of the downside of the way we had to structure things. I don't know if you were here the other day, we reworked the way we put the stuff in here. So it had a table that was a 3D table, and it just kind of didn't know how to work with that. So we broke it into stages. So the first set of tables is the count with position name, and then inside there you get scale degree rows, and each row has more information. Well, this LazyHGrid that knows how to pin the left-hand side wants things in totally the opposite order. It wants the columns, and then the values, one per time for the columns. And I guess given that we have a full-size screen, the horizontal scrolling is more important, but that's too much work for what I want to get out of it, I think. I don't know. I'm trying to keep a good look and very usable in that sense, but that's a lot of work. I mean, it's another good solid day probably to flip these around. Maybe not, but it's more work than I'm willing to do right now. Okay. So I'll just move that down in my priority list. Alrighty. Now, the mode. So that's saying I want to know the most common entry. I was thinking about a text. We had a totally text version of this report and could put a star in the front, but I'm going to use bold or a different color, background color now. Let's see, what color are we? We're green on that gray right now. Yeah, we got to figure something out, but we don't even know the modes yet. That's really more of a model side thing. Okay, and where is its note tabulator? Okay, so this thing, it keeps track of for every scale degree, do, re, mi, fa, sol. That's the first index. The second index is what measure are we on? And the third index is what note are we on within the measure. this. All right, and we calculate, well, we keep track of the biggest measure, the biggest note number, but within a column, we want to know what is your most common value. Now, maybe that says we should switch things around, that columns really are the fundamental way to look at these things. Well, we certainly can run through a column. I mean, because we do have the structure in sort of the nice internal form, we can run through for every scale degree for column measure 0, note 0. Every scale degree measures 0, note 1, measure 0, note 2, and so on. We can run the loop however we want, but maybe this thing. Do I have a grid column? Like, can I make a, let's see. Let's just try grid. Well, I guess the word I want is grid column, right? Grid column alignment. Those are grid structures. Okay, so we want to look at the lazy one. Oh, wait, if you're proud of you, okay. Spans all. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Make sure I understand this thing. So it's saying every one of these well, I don't know. It's going through the columns. All right. And it does pin. Pin scrollable views. Section headers, section footers. Sorry, this example, the header is sticky header view. It's the sections. But they're all the same. So a section contains that. Huh. Okay. We don't have anything checked out. To do is the only thing. I think maybe this LazyHGrid is... Well, okay. I guess what I need to know is every let's go to these things. Scale degree counts. Okay, so these are the counts by scale degree, and then within there, whoops. Oh yeah, here's the position names. That's the top headers. Scale degree count says for a given scale degree, what are all the note counts you have? Okay, so scale degree is the row name. The name here is the row name. All right, so what this would do is it would say tune count contains well, I don't know. What can I simulate this without it? Can I put section headers in now? Section headers are views. Okay. Sorry, I'm feeling lost already. What if I make a new structure? That seems like the way to go. Okay, and it's coming from the same tabulator. Okay, so make returns TuneCounts. I could make it return TuneCounts and this new structure. Or I could make TuneCounts I could give it a new field that represents the columns instead of the rows. Maybe that's better. Okay, so let's do that. TuneCounts tests. I guess the tests are on Note Tabulator. Okay, so we make sure let's go through them. No tunes has no headers. Okay, increment. That's more on that. We got stuff about making later. Empty when true. I don't think anybody looks at this in the UI. Oh, actually, nobody does. Okay, let's delete that. Row info. We'll get the table. Let's ask a question about, well, this is a question about is empty. We don't really care. Okay, let's make sure that's good. I think there was a point where we did, the report needed to know it for some reason. Okay. Delete unused function. Note tabulator dot is empty. Take the little wins here. Okay, one rope, one measure, one note to table. All right. Yeah, I could ask. I got tables, scale degrees. I could ask this other thing. Not tabulator, TuneCounts. I could ask this thing. I'm going to call it columns for now, just to keep my head straight. Of this is counts in measure. Okay. Okay, so I have this columns. This test should say if you've got one, counts.count one. Okay, so you should have table dot columns dot count. It should have one column because it's only got one node. And this test should fail. Columns. Okay. Test should fail. Because we don't create any. Okay, good. Now we need to make sure that the tabulator populates the the columns as well as it did the others. Okay, so when it's making, okay, he's running through scale degrees. Well, let's run through what? I guess we want to run through measures and notes. Right, if we run measure number and note number. Okay, let's do that. Okay, well, it's going to be these same two. Measure number, note number, close, close. Okay. That's the first column. Well, we need we need the column number. Starts out 0. Oh, wow. Let column number equals 0. Sorry, var column number equals 0. Okay. And we need to create Okay, and we need to create the list of columns. I don't think we have that yet. Okay. Columns is array of column. What do we call it? Count in measure. No. That naming doesn't work for me. No, TuneCounts. Counts in measure. I'm gonna say column. We may come around to these words again. Maybe it's just a count column. Okay, so what's in there? Well, one thing is there's got to be a name. Name of string. Well, you know what? Let's split things out. Measure number is an int. Note number is an int. That's the two values we printed in the text. I don't want to have to do the splitting anymore. I got this thing right here. It can do it. Okay. Position names here. These are really, those are really the row names. Okay, so we have a column. We got the number, measure number, note number. That's part of the column header. And then we need I guess we need the counts. Is an array of count. Is that a note count? So, okay, I guess I've got two arrays. I got array. Here I've got array. So I should have everything covered. Okay, so this should be the counts for all the scale degrees. Okay. And all right, I think that'll get us further. Okay, tabulator tests. Table.columns.count. Okay, so table.columns.count. Yes, that seems right. What's the problem? Oh, it's not equal to 1. Okay, because we aren't counting anything. I'll get there. Okay, so columns is column, count column. Okay. And we need to run through the scale degrees. Yikes. Well, I guess it's the same thing here. We ran through 3 loops and that's the way it is. Okay. So for scale degree in, well, maybe this is scale degree number in, and it's going to be this range. I'm probably jumping ahead. Okay. But given you got to have those three numbers to get anywhere. Okay. So now, well, this can be columns. Right. Okay. And starts out empty. Okay. Measure number 0, note number 0, scale degree 0. All right. Now we want to put when do we change? Okay. When do we create a count column? Okay, that's all the columns, but we need to create a count column every time every measure and note degree. Okay. This is a note count. It starts out empty. Okay. This loop is going to fill that in. And then we want to add count column. And do we need column number? Columns dot append count column. Maybe this is note counts. Drive myself crazy here. Okay, let's say note counts of note count equals nothing. Okay. Columns is a count column. Array of count columns. So we need to put a count column in there. So we'll need to create a count column. Measure number, measure number. Note number is note number. Counts is note counts. Okay. I don't know if we use column number. I don't think we need it because the column number is always the same as the entry in the column, you know, the index of this thing. Okay. This is obviously not complete, but I think it might be far enough to pass. If this returns columns, yeah. Okay. Let's see if that will pass. Build succeeded testing. Yes. Okay. Now we got to look at the contents of this thing. Okay. Table.columns. No. Table.columns is an array of count columns. Sub 0 dot counts okay, we should have a column 0. We should have an array of note counts. And then this thing, what did it have? Okay, this is row info.scale index. Should be 1. Okay, I guess I'm not going to bother asserting the counts anymore. Well, maybe I could. Okay, the count should be 1. So it should have one column. And in that column, it should have one entry. Column. Columns.count. Okay. Column sub 0 dot counts should be 1. Dot count. Okay. It takes some digging to get inside these. I don't know. All right. This should fail because we don't do anything in our loop. Yeah, kaboom. It tried to access the count and the count was empty. Okay, so now we want to say scale degree. Well, no, we really want to get this. I mean, we're counting it just as much here as we are elsewhere. Okay. Note counts dot append that, right? Row number is scale degree number. Okay. You're still upset. Cannot convert value type into expected type note count. Oh, I had to do that up here too, right? Note count. Okay, we have to give these things identifiers. Well, I'm going to make it artificial for a moment. Minus 100,000. Okay. Just to make sure the two tables have different values in them. Row number is scale degree number. Okay. All right. So as we locate each scale degree, we take its count at that row, that column, measure that note, and that's the current one. Okay. And so we'll accumulate a bunch of values. And then once we've got all the notes for a column, or the counts for a column, we'll create a column. And then at the end, we put the columns in here. Now we also had to I'm a little lost on the names. Did we lose a name here? I think we're going to have to, well, up here we have the column names, but somewhere we need the row names. And I think that belongs up here. Okay, we'll get it there eventually. All right, this should pass. I may be burying myself. All right, good. Okay, let's save that since it's getting us on moving a little bit here. Let's make sure we got who we think we do. Okay, average tune stage. We're adding columns, and so we're starting to accumulate them, or maybe we have accumulated them. I think we're getting there. And we've got them in the TuneCounts. Okay, so start adding column-based info to the tabulated table. All right. What else? Well, I think to me, it looks like they're doing a similar amount of work. They're doing 3 loops and 2 counters and an ID, and appending it appropriately. We're doing the same thing. 3 loops, more, 2 counts, appending it, and then doing the whole thing. All right. Now, what I think is missing, where does it go though? Well, what's odd is we have column names, but we don't have row names anywhere. And I think TuneCounts needs to know the row names. Oh, before scale degree had the name, right? And these were a list. Okay, so let's let row names be of type string for now. And we're going to have to fill that in too. All right, so this shouldn't build. Yep. Row names. Okay. So row names, let's make it empty. And is that the only place? Okay. In our tests, we want to also make sure that table.row names sub let's call this the doe index. Will you extract a variable for me? Yes. Okay. Doe. It looks like do index, but it's doe, the musical doe. Maybe it's root index. Okay, I'll let that be. Root index. Okay, so here this should be root index. Okay, and then if we take row names sub root index, it ought to be the string one, which is doe. Okay, and this should fail. Oh, I missed a call spot. Row names. Oh, there it is. Row names is empty, which is fine. This is just showing the empty one at the beginning before we do any work. Maybe we don't need to be public. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah. So we didn't fill anything in. We just left it blank all the time. And now here we are with root index. Okay, so let's find the names. Somewhere they did name here, right? Name is row header sub row index row number. Okay. We can just use row headers. Row names is row headers. That should pass. I think that's it. Okay, now so for a given column, there are some values are a mode, and that's really a set of indexes, 0 up to counts.count, I guess. Okay. But I think we have what we need to do the LazyHGrid thing that I was so fussy about. I don't know if we can do that in 15 minutes, but I think we can do it. Compute the mode for each column. And it's modes. Okay. How would we do that? Hey, welcome Formal Goose Foundation. Maybe we should do the grid first since we have the structure, but the mode structure needs to go column by column. We're interested in the most common number or numbers in this column. And, knowing that it's organized column by column makes that easier to store somewhere. Where do we store it? I'm not sure. It could be that we should store it on the note, the count. So we have this nested structure, and at the bottom, it's like for this measure, for this note number, for this scale degree, how many are there? And we could put a flag in here that says, hey, I'm a mode. I don't know. I mean, the other thing we could do is keep track of a list of what are all your modes in here. For this column, what are the indexes of your modes? And maybe that would be okay. The thing is, when you're iterating through this, you don't know the count. Maybe we can get it. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah. Have you considered the following for my charts? I guess I'll let you finish your thought there. All right. So I'm not quite sure where to put that mode yet, but I think maybe we can do the grid column thing and see how that goes. That's back on the UI of this thing. So we're in the view. Here's the scroll view. Okay. Oh, yeah. Is it a package you created or something else? Alrighty. Let's just duplicate this. Take it down to there. It tells me it should be its own view, doesn't it? Okay. So if we're going to use LazyHGrid, consider inheriting from the struct and injecting multiple types. Inheriting from the struct and injecting multiple types for your column. I'm not quite sure what you're suggesting. Go back here. What I'm anticipating is this part goes away. It's the original row by row version. Inheriting from the struct. I think I'll have to let you say more. Okay. View. Okay, so let's make this LazyHGrid. Bottom structure, talking about adding a mode. Oh, sorry. The mode I'm talking about is the most common value. So statistical mode. That, well, there could be two, right, or more. I don't see any examples that are like that. This has six. Oh, here's 6, 6. Okay. Yeah. So 12 and 10 are interesting. What I'd like to ultimately, well, one thing I want to do is like highlight them somehow. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. I can, I'm definitely working. It's like you get so many overloaded words, you know, and, I'm mixing music, statistics, and programming. So I got, you know, how many combinations I can do. But I'd like to at least highlight these in bold or something. And then I'd really like to draw lines from the mode to the mode on each column and say, like, this is the most common melody or, you know, most common melodies, and see what I can do. Okay. Let's see. So this was LazyHGrid. Rows, alignment, pin views, content. Okay, well, let's take this one. We're going to have to fill that stuff in. All right, vertical spacing, horizontal spacing. I'm not sure how that's handled there. Okay. And then content. We've got the contained view. Okay. Now, I had a nice example here. LazyHGrid, pin views that we want. Oh, this was a VStack. Okay. Somewhere I had an example of grid layout. Yeah, there's LazyHGrid. So I have to tell it the rows. Basically, I'm telling it the size and spacing. Okay. And I'm going to, rows is going to be, I'm going to have to do this array of grid items. Okay, it's grid item. Adaptive minimum 80 spacing 8. I don't know. I probably need fixed. Yeah, there we go. This is probably, is it array, repeating count? Oh. I'm hard coding for now, just because I know I have 24 rows. Okay, grid item. I think it's spacing too. Rows. Okay. All right. Well, we're out of time for today. So next time is next week, Monday at 1 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern or 6 to 8:30 p.m. UTC. We will pick up here. I may do a little work on the weekend. I don't know, but I think we'll just pick up here and work on a new view that's based around columns instead of rows. So let me that we're back to doing this first, and create the LazyHGrid. Okay. All right. I think our tests are green, but our display is probably really weird. Okay. Thanks for joining today, and I will catch you in the future, I hope. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.